Hi, welcome to my garden. I'm Shelia K, and this is my raised bed vegetable garden. Welcome in, come on in. I've got it mixed with, as you can see, veggies. I've got 7 raised beds. And I like to incorporate a few flowers here and there just to make it a little more interesting. In this bed I just took out lettuces, and I've got okra planted there and basil. Still some carrots are blooming. And I just got this olive tree just recently. In fact, I bought it at Costco. It is Manzanillo olive tree, so it's going to be an experiment this year. In this second triangular bed, I've got lima beans. They're one of my favorite beans, and I will have a real bumper crop this year. I've got about 12 plants, and started the seeds myself. And these seeds, these bean plants are just loaded with lima beans. They're one of my favorites. Reminds me of my grandmother. Also in this bed I've got green beans, and they are also beautifully producing right now. Every other day I've got a harvest. These are petite green beans, and I find them much more flavorful than Kentucky Wonder or any of the other vine beans. I prefer the bush beans. I find it much easier to control them and also to harvest them. I find it easier. Here I've got overgrown marjoram ready to be cut. I keep them to flower because I like to attract the bees. As you can see, I've got a good bee population there with the dill as well. I've got rosemary, thyme, several types of thyme in the back. And this, of course, is my asparagus. It is probably over 8 feet tall. This is a 6th year for these asparagus crowns. I get a very hardy crop in February and March. And I just think the fern is just beautiful as well. Here I've got Mardi Gras bell pepper. It turns green. It comes out of the flower green, and then it will turn a purple and then red. I haven't had any purple yet. I've been harvesting them as they are ready to be, and I like to put them in my lima beans or green beans. Here are cucumbers. I started my own seed with cucumbers. I've got several varieties of cucumbers, an English variety and also a pickling variety. And I have been pulling a lot of cucumbers out. I've made a first batch of bread and butter pickles already. I've got salad burnet that's going to be cut here in a little bit. I'm harvesting some of the seeds to start some plants for next year. I just love this lettuce. It also has a cucumber taste, which makes me really happy. And here is a pumpkin in the corner there. Got a loofah plant that was a volunteer from last year, and I like to keep it around because it is a pollinator magnet. I'm not going to let it get to its full maturity. It took over this whole garden last year and produced somewhere around 200 loofahs. I've got Thai basil that's a volunteer, and here's my bed with onions. I'm keeping some in the ground until I use up some of the others, and I'll freeze them. This is a cherry tomato. I bought these little starts from North Haven Gardens. I think this is a Super 100. It's a couple of butternut squash, started from seed, and Japanese eggplant. Those are luscious to grill. We just put olive oil, salt on them and grill them, cut them in half. I've got zucchini squash, 2 zucchini squash plants, and 1 yellow crookneck squash plant. And you can see from the back end, my patio tomatoes got some nice little pink jewels back there. I've got 3 types of potatoes. I've got red Pontiac, Yukon Yukon Gold, and Kennebec is the other white potato. As you can see, they're just started to fall down this week, so I imagine in a couple of weeks they'll be ready for me to harvest. I love the blossom on this red Pontiac potato. It's got a nice little violet color. And the white potatoes have white flowers that look very, very similar to this. I've got a pomegranate tree here. This is a Meyer lemon. When it came out of my greenhouse this spring, it was full of blossoms. And I'm not sure why they drop blossoms, but I do have a couple of Meyer lemons. I usually have a very good crop. I think that they're gonna come back here. I use an organic citrus fertilizer, and it's had all the fertilizer it needs for this. In my bed number 6, I have cutting celery, chard, parsley. I've got zucchini and yellow crookneck squash. I've got dill that I'm letting go to seed so that I can harvest the dill seed. In the back, I've got spinach. Also got parsley and 2 blueberry plants. This is an Arctic frost satsuma that I'm very excited about. It is something that I grew up with in South Louisiana, and it's in a pot buried in my bed, but just in case we have a serious sustained frost, it's hardy to 20 degrees, so we'll give that a try. I've got 5 different varieties of sweet potatoes. I've got Jewel, Beauregard, Diana, Vardaman, and I think that's it. I got one potato from Central Market that was organic, and it started to sprout, so I planted it just to see what would happen. In this bed is butternut squash and watermelon, the little personal size watermelons. And I can show you right over here. We've got a little watermelon and a squash that are hugging each other. And I've got some celery there and some more basil. I've got my mint in pots. Thank you for coming to my garden.